Vivrant Beauty Thang, episode number 101. Welcome to the Keep It 100 Girl Show, and it's brought to you by Target. You know why? Online shopping is the best. That's why I love Target. What woman doesn't shop at Target? You can shop with no bra, sweatpants, and a glass of wine. I'm just keeping it 100. Today's show is brought to you by Target, otherwise known as Target. All right, to kick things off, parents, listen up, because you're going to enjoy 20% off kids' dressy clothing and kids' licensed clothing. It's only online, but for those with younger children, make sure you share 20% off all Graco and an additional 5% off using the promo code GRACO, GRACO. And if you don't know what that is, oh my gosh, they make all types of accessories, baby accessories, from strollers to high chairs to playpens. So go check it out on Target.com. In addition, Target is sending a bit of extra luck with 20% on home and an extra 10% with the promo. And this is the code, so grab your pen. It's St. Patrick. How convenient, right? Anything to do with furniture, bedding, decor, rugs, dining, and entertaining? Look, it's valid from March 15th through to the 18th. And for you ladies looking to save some serious green, you're in luck with 20% off women's jeans at Target. All right, so this is episode 101. Y'all, I made it. I made it over the 100 hump. I cracked the 100 code. And this calls for cracking open the champs this week to kick off the 100th series of episodes. But what's up, Girly Nation? Welcome back to another of Keep It 100. And I'm coming to you live from Washington, D.C. I'm your hostess with the Keep It 100 Girl Mostess. It's Nina Babo. And you know how I do. As always, I keep it real. I keep it true. But the difference is I use a sassy but classy TMI approach. And this is where both men and women tell the truth, nothing but the truth, even if it's totally embarrassing or super cray-cray. In fact, 50 shades of cray-cray. My hand is raised. How about yours? Are you ready to keep it 100?
Ready to keep it 100, girl.
Oh, Nina, I keep it 100, baby.
Yes, I'm ready to keep it 100.
I'm ready to keep it 100, girl.
You know I'm going to keep it 100.
From attorney to business owner, she is your Black Sephora beauty. In fact, you want to stamp your passport with this episode because half of her product line originates from people of color. She features products in her store that are missing in everyone's daily lives, and she's on a mission to find products that fit the vibrant girl and guy out there. Vibrant Beauty is Harlan's newest beauty retail experience with a total vast from hair, skin, lips, nails, beards, but it's skincare, hair care, cosmetic products catering to men and women of all skin tones, nationalities, and hair textures. The founder and owner, Desiree Verdejo, is a Harlem native and a former lawyer. And after 7 years of practicing law, she jumped off that corporate ladder that we all do to pursue her lifelong fascination with entrepreneurship. Desiree is a self-described beauty junkie. But what girl isn't? Desiree discovered a passion for skincare at a very, very young age, and you'll learn about the young Desiree a little later on. But she had this love for styling and caring for her natural, kinky hair. Her store and what it stands for, I'll tell you what it is. This Black Puerto Rican Harlem native gives us the rundown on the inspiration behind her brand and location, which are all composed of one love. Desiree is still in the new phase, meaning she's a newbie entrepreneur about 1.5 years into it, transitioning from that attorney to full-time entrepreneur status.
So I am a Harlem native and started to think about the store as it relates to Harlem specifically initially and what it was missing, who lived here and what surprisingly wasn't here. And I realized that as it related to beauty, the stores in the neighborhood were drugstores and beauty supply stores. You know, and we have these, Harlem is filled with like global women, you know, different professional and creative backgrounds that shop everywhere and travel everywhere. And yeah, we're like all digging for products in the beauty supply store. It didn't make sense. Or we're going downtown, you know, to find products for ourselves. Yeah. And so it just seemed like a great starting point for Vivrant Beauty. I know I certainly wasn't interested in shopping in the beauty supply store anymore or hoping that I would find my foundation in a big, you know, beauty retailer. And so it was something that I thought should exist in general. And I realized like I live in a community, I'm from a community where this concept makes so much sense. So that was the inspiration.
So Vivrant Beauty serves as both an online and local community. Harlem is full, and I mean full to the brim, of women of color, serving a spectrum of hues, of skin color, hair texture, and even mixed race communities.
Harlem is full of women of color from the Caribbean. Yeah. So, you know, with that, there's a spectrum of hues, of skin color, hair texture, and, you know, having a place locally for someone, just a neighborhood store, just for someone to come in who just needs somebody, needs something.
Harlem is super diverse. I mean, we have Black American women, Caribbean women. We also have a lot of like mixed race families in the community now more than ever. So we have moms that come in and they're like, help me. Like, what am I doing with my child's curls? And so...
All right, Desiree went from law to beauty, and I asked her to explain that whole transformative period in her life when an entrepreneur makes a decision and decides to leave the brick and mortar and make the trek to being a solopreneur.
I practiced law for 7 years, and I was a corporate attorney, so really nice lifestyle, not ideal life. Is how I would say it.
What did you discover? Like, you know, we're brainwashed, we're socialized to, you know, go to school, get a degree. Definitely. And I think at the time I didn't have an alternative. So I can't even say like I was forced to go to law. Like I went to law school because I was actually very interested in continuing to study, love studying. I could get another degree now. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that I wanted to practice law. And at the time I went back and forth between the law degree and getting an MBA because I always knew that I wanted to create something. I just hadn't had I had a few ideas, but hadn't had an idea that, you know, just propelled me the way this has.
Doing the same thing every day was not Desiree's motivation. In fact, she worked on herself, for herself, by herself, and she explains what all that means, especially now that she's older and has different values when it comes to seeking her passions and realizing, girl, you may be crushing it, but some of those things you thought you would appreciate exist no longer.
So practicing law, you know, it's the same thing day in and day out. And for some people that's amazing because it means that at the end of the day, some people will be an expert in the person you call and you make a lot of money when you're that person. But for me, that was a nightmare, doing the same thing every day. I love when people say, what's your ideal day like? And my response is like, girl, it's never the same, you know?
Yeah.
So I just started to realize what I appreciate. Some of the things I thought I might appreciate when I was younger, like my own office. I remember when I first like started my job 7 years ago and I had an office and it was on Madison Avenue and I was like, oh my God, I'm killing it.
Right, crushing it.
Yeah, exactly. And then by the end of like 7 years, I was like, oh my God, this little office, I'm so sick of sitting in here for 11 hours a day. Like, this is a nightmare. Get me out of here. I want to go to a coffee shop. I want to like take a stroll. I wish I could have a meeting in the park. Like, you know, you just learn about yourself. And I think that helps you to create like the perfect career for yourself the more you know.
We all have that continuous light bulb moment, right? Bing, bing, bing in our lives. Life is too short really to tolerate things that don't make you happy, people. For Desiree, it just happened to be in a period of different stages.
It wasn't a light bulb moment for me. For me, it was a stage. At that 7-year mark, probably in a lot of environments, but definitely in a law firm, when you're doing well, your partners are starting to talk to you about what's next, partnership track, getting clients, grooming you for that next phase. And I realized that, and I moved from I practiced at a large firm for 5 years and then a smaller firm for 2 years. And so I was really committed to that firm's success. And I realized I wasn't open to them pouring those resources into me because I knew that was the next step. And so it was sort of like either you're building yourself to become a partner or you're building that thing that's in the back of your mind. And at that stage, Vivrant was in the back of my mind, and I was going home and like jotting ideas down for it and stuff like that. And so I realized, like, you know, focus on this business idea and really like sit down and plan it, because that's where your heart is, and that's just what makes sense. So it was just like the period that where I had a transition more so than a moment. Right.
All right, so my inspiration for becoming an entrepreneur is not being able to break that glass ceiling. But given Desiree's soul-searching journey, we all have many ages and stages of our lives to discover what that passion is, hopefully sooner than later. So I asked Desiree to share her personal story when it comes to transitioning and making that transition, and not to do it in haste either, from career to entrepreneurship, especially to you women of color out there.
You know, I would tell them to pursue their goals, but I would say be careful, tread carefully. I didn't take it, you know, it's funny because I think in this day and age, we're always like, just do it, girl. And I do strongly believe that, but I think you can plan for it. You can start before you start, you know, and I definitely did that. I had my business. I mean, I quit my job 2 weeks before the store opens and the website.
Oh, so you worked.
I was not leaving my job lightly. And I say to people, make sure, you know, think about your idea, how it can be profitable, talk to people, have your plan ready. Because I have conversations with people that seem like they're like, and I'm just going to leave on Tuesday. Like, don't do that, because if it doesn't work out well because you haven't planned for it appropriately, then you might just tell yourself that it wasn't meant to be. So do it, but just try to do it as in the most organized way possible. Save as much as you can. Most businesses require, you know, and lifestyles require money. And so if you do those things and you're propelled by something, then go for it.
Desiree was working and setting up her shop at the same time. And that's what you often have to do in an entrepreneur until you make that clean break. Sometimes we get nervous about breaking the news, maybe hiding it, being discovered as we are growing our business on the down low, the DL. I know, full disclosure, I am guilty. Didn't get caught, but I certainly did do it. In this next clip, Desiree shares her guilty pleasures as well.
I was here, they were building up a store. I had 4 guys building a store. I would go to my office. Like, it was insane. I was on the phone in between deals for my corporate career with hair brands, getting my orders together, like literally 2 weeks. And it's because I just couldn't, at that point when things started rolling in and you're wrapping up construction, you just need to be on the ground the whole time. And so, or I would have probably done it the day before. But yeah, it was 2 weeks beforehand. And when I told my boss, he was like, oh, so you're going to be leaving soon? And I'm like, no, this is my 2 weeks notice. Like, I'm available if you need to call, you know, to transition to some other stuff. But this is my 2 weeks notice. He was like, that's insane. So I always tell this story, but I made a New Year's resolution to open the store, and we opened in July. So it was that period. And, you know, it more intense during the end, because the beginning was writing the business plan, looking for real estate, looking for a location, which I did on the weekends. You know, the initial emails to brands are, you know, you can sneak emails in just like anything else. But it was towards the end when it was crazy, because I physically had to be in the store to receive products and and to make sure that, the guys that I was carrying every day were making progress. Yeah. So it was crazy towards the end. I was double tracking in the beginning, but that part was quite manageable.
Right.
Yeah.
The reality of it is this. It's not easy, right? There's no glam to balancing both aspirations as you're transitioning from one period of your life where you were brainwashed and coached by your parents or whomever to get that education. But now you're saying, I'm doing me. Especially if you're acting out a character and people are like, what's going on? Because you're a creature of nature. And Desiree points out, there is some craftiness involved and some strategic moves and magician acts that you gotta pull out of the hat in hopes of not getting discovered.
Yeah, you're making up a lot of stories. My boss probably was like, she must be dying, because it was like, I have an appointment. I have another appointment. He's like, she must be dying or pregnant, because she has so many appointments right now. She's always late, and I'm not usually a person that's late. And so yeah, you have to get creative. And fortunately, I knew I was leaving, because then I wasn't as scared of the repercussions of being late, like every week,
and being discovered.
Exactly.
But do they now know?
Oh yeah. Of course. They do, and they're supportive.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of attorneys transition to different, to becoming business owners, and there's a lot of enthusiasm there. So people have been really supportive. I get messages on LinkedIn all the time or on social media. Yeah. So yeah, it's good.
For most of you following my podcast, you all know that girl-friendly advice and celebrating embarrassment is the key theme of all my episodes. Desiree is she's going to be a first-time mother. If it's not this month, it's definitely by April. So I asked her to give out some of that balancing act that she's going to have to manage being a mummy as well as an entrepreneur.
I am fascinated by this age. I'm 9 months pregnant, and so there's no shortage of the conversation. People are very open, I'll say, in terms of the girlfriend moments, with talking about all that your body goes through that we don't share in the public arena. So I would say that the conversations have been really open lately about labor, about pregnancy, about that stage afterwards, the good, the bad, the ugly, the yucky, the icky. So yeah, I'm definitely filled with like those conversations, and I'll spare people which ones have been the most horrifying to me or which ones have stuck with me more visually. But yeah, it is fascinating at different stages of your life, like where the conversation goes. And right now is definitely that time when my older aunts are pulling me aside and they're like, you're gonna need a faja, a girdle for post-pregnancy to pull your organs back together, or just everyone has advice. Right. Everyone has a story. It's one of these areas where everyone's an expert, and so it's interesting. Having the conversations about pregnancy and labor and that initial stage when you bring home a newborn and what your body's doing and what their bodies are doing. So that's probably where my girlfriend talk is right now.
Yeah. And I think we're all at that stage where we're comfortable. Yeah. Right? And we're comfortable being open.
Yeah, there's an openness. It's like people are waiting. Like they're open and they're ready to feed you this information that they know you don't have, and you don't have it. Right. You don't have it until people are like, "Oh yeah, she's about 5 months pregnant. Yeah, she's ready to hear this."
Oh wow!
I asked Desiree for her personal lessons learned, especially given all the exposure she's had in the last year with launching a brand and a product line. People tend to see the glamour, the glam I call it, and not the consuming part and the grind, the hustle of being an entrepreneur.
Well, it's not going to go as you planned. So you just got to be flexible. It's going to cost more than you expected. So save more or under budget, because every detail, whether it's the amount of inventory you need or the build out, or even if it's not a physical brick and mortar location, I'm sure it's true if you're launching a product line or whatever. Just that, things are out of your control. You will be, whatever you're doing, that is what you will be doing. When you launch a business, I'm still in the new phase at a year and a half, where this is my world, I love meeting out with friends that have been running their businesses for 5 years or more because they're more detached. There is a period when you're living and breathing your business, so make sure you like it. Don't do it because you think you're going to make money off of it. Do it because you think that it's profitable, but also because you just would love focusing on it, because you will be. That's the biggest lesson. And it's funny because I think we have this social media, this mentality that's I'm going to be my own boss and I'm going to make my own schedule. I'm going to go to yoga in the middle of the day. And yes, you can go to yoga in the middle of the day. I do go to yoga in the middle of the day. But I wake up very early to go to yoga in the middle of the day, and then I work very late to go to yoga in the middle of the day. And I think that whole, just how consuming it is, I've heard, but it's still it really is very consuming if you're doing it right, if you're always focused on spreading the word about it and growing it and developing, your brand and what you have. It's very consuming. So just make sure you love it.
So as I mentioned earlier, Desiree is going to be a mompreneur. And you will be able to relate because you know what? There's a baby Vivrant girl on the way. So for all you mompreneurs in the house, listen up.
And there's a baby. Yeah. So I think that might help with the balance. It has to. Even now, it's helping with the balance, but I think the baby's just going to be brought into the brand. She's just going to grow up in the Vivrant world.
How perfect!
Yeah, because it really is real how involved you have to be to continue to grow and spread the word.
Vivrant Beauty is the aphrodisiac of brands for women of color. Look, it's a store that we all could walk in and find everything that caters to us, whether it's the hair, skin, nails, lips. Rather than having to be selective, test, you just know when you walk in there, it's made for you. So Desiree is very selective in her choices of picking and choosing brands that represent women of color and what women of color would appreciate, given your lifestyle, your niche, your look, and how you're going to rock your everyday self.
One of the things that I think helps with catering to women of color with our product lines is that half of them are person of color owns. So, for example, we have a beard line created by a Black male, and it's there are no shortage of beard oils on the market right now. Beards are having a moment, but they have a balm that's specifically rich enough for coarse hair, kinkier hair. We have a product line that I love called Girl in Hair, created by a Black doctor that wore weaves all of the time and wanted to keep the hair underneath and her scalp healthy.
What's the name of that brand?
Girl in Hair.
Girl in Hair.
Yeah. So one of the things I like to do is really just focus on brands. I think I mentioned earlier a lip product line called the Lip Bar, where they have nude lipsticks, but really nude for brown skin tones. So I really like to focus on those products, make sure those are incorporated onto our shelves, because I think we think about us in a way that other people, then they get on the bandwagon.
Right.
But we create products that we realize are missing. And so that's one of the biggest things that we do. There are other considerations, but I always get excited when I find those products.
I asked Desiree, where do you find your products? And she indicated, look, there's no end to her search. So in this clip, she'll explain how she does it.
How you go? Everywhere. Social media, local market, foreign market.
Okay.
Different shows. Where we find products, there's no end to. But always on a mission to find something that fits the Vivrant girl.
So we are a product of our environment, right? And on a personal level, Desiree was raised by her grandparents, and she was actually the first one to go to college. And growing up in a family who didn't have that familiarity about college or the approach and the applications, she just knew this is what my grandparents wanted for me. And I wanted women to hear from a Black female entrepreneur her journey, and especially being the pioneer of her family.
I think being like, I definitely, so my grandparents, they didn't go to college, but they were very focused on education, it was ingrained in me, despite the fact that they had no clue what college was, that I was going there. And I think that's a lot of parents, it's funny, growing up, I was studying abroad and going to college and doing all of these things, whereas my grandmother had been to Hawaii. So it was just, that was the focus. And now at this stage of my life, I really appreciate it. But it does make it difficult because it means that, there's a whole process to even applying for college. I now have, through marriage, older nieces and nephews that are applying to college. And I realized, wow, that was the paperwork alone is a lot. Deciding on a school to attend is a lot, making sense of the charts and the majors and things like that. So, I would say don't be afraid to reach out to people, because I think if you're in that scenario, you probably have developed a level of independence because you've had to. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people that are available to help you that have more knowledge, whether it's a guidance counselor or just someone that's a little bit older than you that's been through it. So a neighbor or what have you, someone in your church. But I definitely say to try to reach out to people and don't feel bad when something is over your head, because it's meant to be. It's not meant for an 18-year-old to figure it all out alone. And I think sometimes when you're the first in your family or one of a few or what have you, you are. So I would definitely say reach out to your community to the extent that you can, because it's a difficult process, but it's not, once you get there, it's the best experience ever. So don't be intimidated by it. Is the other thing that I would say. It's all worth it. All the paperwork, all the applications, the essays, the interviews are so worthwhile. The applications for scholarships, if that's what you're doing, which was very much something that I needed to do. It's all worth it because the experience is something I think still talk about college today. Yeah. And can't imagine that in 10 years I wouldn't be talking about college and connecting with my college girlfriends and things like that. So it's all worth it, but it's difficult, and it's not a problem if you need help at different stages.
So by now you know the vibrant girl side, the entrepreneur. So let's get to know the young Desiree. Is she the same or different girl?
I don't think anyone in my family is surprised by my path. I am, and they're like, no, we're not surprised that you would, have a great job and leave it behind because you think you think that everything's going to fall into place magically. But I've always been very optimistic and hardworking. And I think the hardworking part is, like I said, just ingrained in me from my grandparents. That was the only way I could be. And so they made it clear, working hard, studying, going to school, that was the only option. So it was the only option. And they also had high expectations of me, although as I get older, it's hard to process, but they, just always expected that I would go to school. When it came time to go to law school, certainly no one in my family had done that. They didn't know how to do it or how we were paying for it, but it was a given. And I think that dates back to even growing up. And I had this mentality that it will all fall into place as a kid, and I still do now as an adult. As a new business owner with a baby on the way, I'm like, oh, it'll all work itself out. Right. I don't know how. Don't ask me how. But definitely I was that optimistic kid. Loved trying new things, going to new places. I took my first trip abroad when I was 16. Which is, I don't know if that's young or old, but for me, it was the most eye-opening thing. And I knew every time that I could travel, I had to, I just love adventure and change. And so all of those things, but they haven't changed though. So the young Desiree is so similar to current Desiree.
And out of your clique, what would you say you were what type of girl were you in that crowd?
Oh, I was you know what? I was a bouncer. I wasn't really the person that had, there were definitely cliques from early on when you think back to it. Mm-hmm. But I was always the bouncer.
The diplomat.
Yeah, I jumped from circles. Growing up in New York, I went to a very Black and Hispanic school. And even as kids, people separated between Black and Hispanic groups, and because of my backgrounds, I was in both circles, and I was a good student, but I was kind of silly. So I was jumped around in circles because of that. So I wasn't popular, but I certainly didn't limit myself to any circles. I was in goody two shoes as it related to the teachers.
Which is a good thing that I appreciate now.
But then it wasn't cool.
No, it wasn't.
I don't say that like that was cool. I was like, I'll clean the chalkboard, which is not cool, but I was comfortable in that that's who I was even then. So it's funny to look back on, because I think a lot of times kids, especially girls, we want to put our hands down. We don't, want to volunteer to do this and that. And you see that from elementary school through law school, or I saw that through those years. But I was fine being the nerd and still being goofy.
So Desiree's key takeaway is you need people. You need people to delegate to. You need people to talk to. You need play dates. And I'm saying this from my own experience as well. But Desiree gives her how. And I asked her for all of her entrepreneurial aha moments.
My aha moment is that you need people. Even if you work for yourself, by yourself, every day, you need people. And I have had enough moments where I just can't figure it out, and I finally started to reach out to fellow entrepreneurs, whether they're in beauty or not. Fortunately, I'm surrounded by small business owners just because we have different brands on our shelves. So asking them everything from how did you get 10,000 followers on social media to where do you get your shopping bags? You need people. And I think once you get your whole business together by yourself and you're working by yourself every day, you kind of forget that. You get on your own group, you get, into your own groove, you're proud of what you've done by yourself, and you're like, oh, okay, I work for myself. No, you need people. And you need people that do what you do, and then you also need people that have no clue what you do, because those are the people that spark a different side of your brain. So, for example, I have this brunch group with different founders of businesses, tech, energy, beauty as well. But, you don't want to talk to people that are doing the same thing as you every day. You really want to work that other side of your brain and think about things that maybe your colleagues aren't thinking of. But people, it's just my okay, you need them. You need to collaborate with people. You need to, if you work by yourself every day, get out there and have breakfast meetings, not to handle business, just to connect. People are so important to success, to mental success, to professional success. So for me, that's just my girl, you need this.
Especially when you're working from home and you're literally surrounded by four walls.
Yeah.
It's so important.
It's so important. And that's the other thing is sometimes as an entrepreneur, you have limited time. So you're we don't have anything to resolve or, so is this a good time? Am I wasting someone's time? Am I wasting my own time? No, it's helpful just to go out and sit with someone and just chat about what you're working on, what I'm working on, and then what we're not working on. But that, the people, the relationship with other entrepreneurs, other people in the same mindset as you, in the same space as you is so important. So,
and I don't know about you, but my first experience was that was only if I looked at my own circle, that was only literally 5 people.
Yeah.
But then as I grew or I get to know others, it's we need each other more than anything.
Definitely.
Just because you know the pain that I'm going through, just when I tell you opposed to a friend.
Exactly. Exactly. I have friends that are lawyers that are so supportive, but they don't get it in the same way. My husband, he understands more about beauty than I ever thought he would, but doesn't understand some of the challenges that I deal with. So that network of like-minded entrepreneurs, women, that's who you connect with most. For me, that it's women. You need it.
What's it like being married to an entrepreneur anyway? What's the dynamic that happens, especially if someone is totally not immersed into that solopreneur lifestyle? Desiree will tell women exactly what to expect, especially because we're always working.
My husband's a computer engineer, very type A, stable. Yeah. And I won't call him a non-entrepreneur because there is a creativity to the engineer that makes them want to create things, but he can't do that right now. So right now he has to be a non-entrepreneur and pursue the benefits while I pursue this venture. But yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic because there's just so much risk involved with being an entrepreneur, and you're always working. It's the weekend, and the concept, I think, for most people is, okay, we're free to do XYZ. And if you work for yourself, like I'm always going to a brunch or grabbing my computer to go to a coffee shop, and I'm like, you can sit with me in the coffee shop, which is not the way to a healthy marriage. Let me tell you, like your dates cannot all consist of you guys on your laptops in a coffee shop. So yeah, I mean, there definitely is a balance, but I think it's helpful too because it makes me really like use my time well, because I know I can't get away with like always working. Like I can't always be watching a movie with the laptop on my lap, or you know what I mean, eating dinner with a laptop near me. So it creates some balance, but it also has its challenges because it's very risky, and it's your mind is in a different place all the time.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
So it's interesting.
So as you can see, Desiree has a passion for all things beautiful and motivation to empower and most of all be surrounded by motivated women. It didn't take her long to determine the next chapter of her life, next stage of her life, and even her career. Thus, the concept of Vivrant Beauty was born, and you can find them at www.vibrantbeauty.com. The lesson and biggest takeaway for women out there is contemplating that transition in your life, whether it's single to married, married to single, school to college, college to job, whether it's being happy. And I want you to leave this episode with this. For every woman out there contemplating that transition, follow your passion that's unique to your true self. Don't follow it because your mother said so, your father said so, society said so, TV said so, social said so. If you want to do it and you're good at it, these are the things that you're passionate about. They are not random. It's your calling. After years of soul-searching, exploration, and hard work, you know what? Desiree is excited to do what she finally loves. In a community that she proudly calls home, that she was born and raised, and now she's serving. And that wraps up another episode of the Keep It 100 Girl Show. Your go-to girlfriend is here to empower you every week, people. And the best conversations happen after each podcast. And as a bonus, Desiree and I did some collabos, and we actually had 3 Keep It 100 minutes, which you can find on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and the Keep It 100 Girl Facebook page. We featured 3 product lines geared to women of color. And to be exact, so we have one episode where we're talking about transitioning from winter to spring. New signature lippy feels for spring. So stay tuned for that. Keep it 100 minute. All right, so the second feature has to do with men's grooming products, specifically for that lumber beard, that metrosexual out there who is sporting that lumber beard. And all these products are natural and geared to men of color. And then lastly, we have that busy travelista who wants that hair product on the go. So check it out. Connect with me on social using the handle @NinaBabel to learn more about each of these features. And you can find the full video on the Keep It 100 Girl Facebook page or YouTube by looking for Nina Babel. That's BABEL. Oftentimes I just say babe with an L. But reply to this podcast. We want to hear from you on social, or send a quick email to ask me or even Desiree what you're struggling with right now. And you'll send your email to ask@ninababel.com. Even if it's something really, really small, don't hesitate to ask. Anybody that has a question or a personal story, send your email to ask@ninababel.com. And you know what? I will feature it on an upcoming show. Subscribe for my podcast updates on ninababel.com/subscribe, because new episodes of the Keep It 100 Girl Show we drop every Tuesday on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Auto Radio, and Stitcher for you Android folks. Give me some love, Girly Nation. If you are a newbie to Girly Nation or a veteran follower, I gotta ask you a favor. Leave me a rating and review. in iTunes. It helps me keep it real and true every week. And you're helping a girl out. By leaving a 5-star rating and review, you are empowering not only me, but other women to help erase the stigma of embarrassment that we carry shamelessly through our lives in so many ways. Hey, it's not just my voice either, but it's your voice and a message that really, really matters to women all over the world. So leave your rubber stamp of approval right there in iTunes or Stitcher. I want you guys to have a good week, because next week I'm going to feature a girl with broken wings and how she was still able to fly, people. Her former fiance broke the wrong parts of her. But you know what? Birds with broken wings try to help each other fly. So tune in next week, and also I'm going to be dropping my Keep It 100 moment on Friday. You know how I do. I keep it real. I keep it true. Smooches!
If you wanna be